Hi, welcome to Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the first 4 episodes of the series Cyberpunk Edgerunners. In this world, everyone is obsessed with body modification and technology. These modifications not only provide people with good looks, but also incredible powers. Will a normal boy named David avenge his mother's death with the help of these modifications, or will he end up with the same fate as her? Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next episodes. The series is set in a dystopian place called Night City, which is light years ahead of everyone in terms of technology. Body modifications have become a norm here. As the episode begins, we see a man named James Norris wearing a Sandevistan, a military-grade implant that gives superhuman strength, speed, and reflexes. With the aid of the implant, which grants him a bulletproof body, he attacks police officers in the middle of the street and effortlessly murders them. However, James is shot and taken into custody when special police personnel with equally potent implants arrive on the scene. In the same scene, we are introduced to a boy named David, who lives with his mother, Gloria. Despite having financial difficulties, Gloria sends David to the elite Arasaka Academy because she wants him to attend the best academy in the Night City. Their economic condition is so bad that they don't have the funds to refill the washing machine. David needs to continue attending his classes at Arasaka Academy, but in order to do so, he needs an update, which he cannot afford. He informs Gloria that he will handle the update and requests that she recharge the washing machine. At school, he modifies his headset with a software to avoid paying for the licensed update. Instead of legally upgrading his cyberware by paying money, David illegally upgrades it. As a result, David's illegal modifications to his cyberware end up crashing the school system. Later, David and Gloria are summoned by the principal to his office. Initially, the principal queries Gloria about David's unauthorized software update and mentions that restoring the system was expensive. Since the principal suspects that the mother's son are struggling financially, he advises Gloria to transfer her son to a different school. Gloria rejects right away and lies to the principal, claiming to be financially secure. Also, she promises that David won't make the same mistake again. Not only that, she also agrees to cover the costs of the damages caused by David. Next, Gloria and David argue while driving home. Realizing there is no way they can pay for the damages and fees for the school, David decides to drop out of school and look for a job. But Gloria disagrees with his decision, telling him that he's a talented boy and deserves to get the best education just like other kids in the city. Gloria even explains she works extra hours just to give him the best education possible. As the mother-son duo is conversing, they get caught up in a street brawl between 2 other vehicles. Although they are not harmed by the shooting, their car flips over and they meet with an accident. After a while, some rescuers arrive at the scene. Turns out those rescuers are corrupt and would only help those on their client list. David somehow manages to get his mother to a cheap hospital because she is seriously injured, while he has just minor injuries. In order to get some money for his mother's treatment, David goes home and finds out that Gloria has several bank accounts and has been paying money in all of them. He manages to access Gloria's savings account to pay her medical bills. However, their savings aren't enough to cover the apartment's rent. While looking for money, David discovers that Gloria took the military-grade Sandevistan implant from the man who was arrested at the beginning of the episode. In the next scene, David is assaulted by one of his classmates, Katsuo. Katsuo tells David to drop out of school because he is poor and a misfit among other students who come from wealthy families. It infuriates David, and when Katsuo implies that Gloria must be involved in some illegal work to pay for such a prestigious school, the bully Katsuo then hits David until he bleeds. Later, David receives a call from the hospital and, to his dismay, Gloria is no more. At the hospital, the doctor informs David that although the operation was successful, she died after her vitals suddenly dropped. Devastated, David returns home, where he gets a call from Katsuo, who badmouths Gloria once again. Hence, David meets Doc, a local medical practitioner who can install cybernetic prosthetics and a black market seller. There, David requests Doc to install the Sandevistan implant in his body. With the help of the implant, he will be able to gain immense strength and speed. Initially, Doc insists David sell him the implant, but the boy is adamant on using it for himself. After a bit of convincing, they finally come to an agreement whereby Doc will put the Sandevistan into David's cyberware. But if the latter is unable to handle it, he must give Doc the implant for free. Cyberware is a technology permanently installed into the human flesh that has the ability to interface with the nervous system. After Doc installs the Sandevistan into David's cyberware, he returns to his school with new abilities and takes revenge on Katsuo by assaulting him in the classroom. The news that David assaulted Katsuo reaches Katsuo's father, Tanaka, a senior executive at Arasaka Academy. When Tanaka goes through the CCTV footage, he realizes that David used the same Sandevistan implant that former Second Lieutenant James Norris had been equipped with at the time of his death. Unlike James, David hasn't shown any signs of cyberpsychosis. Thus, Tanaka tells the principal that they can make David a prime candidate to test their product. As David has been expelled from school, Tanaka asks the principal to lure him back with promises of financial aid. Meanwhile, David wanders aimlessly through the night city. Inside a train, he notices a girl named Lucy, who is a thief by profession. Lucy is able to pickpocket strangers on a public train without getting noticed because she is a netrunner, meaning she is a hacker who has a cybernetically enhanced interface system implanted in her body. When Lucy tries to steal from David, he immediately activates the Sandevistan and catches her. Afterwards, Lucy tells David that he was her target because she exclusively steals from people associated with Arasaka Academy. After learning that David is an Arasaka dropout and has the Sandevistan implanted in his body, Lucy offers him to be her partner in the robberies with a 70-30 split in the share. David agrees, and that night the two of them pickpocket several passengers on the train. Later, David collapses after overusing the Sandevistan implant. Initially, Lucy takes David to a person she knows for treatment, but he tries to steal David's Sandevistan. Thankfully, Lucy and David succeeded in getting away from the ambulance. Then, David instructs Lucy to drive him to Doc, who installed the Sandevistan implant into his body. After checking, Doc prescribes immunosuppressants to David and warns him not to overuse the Sandevistan. He also tells David that a normal human can use the Sandevistan maximum 3 times a day. But when Doc discovers that David had used it 8 times that day, he is shocked and notes that he apparently has a remarkable tolerance for it. After he gets discharged, Lucy invites him to her apartment where she lives alone. Since David has never smoked cigarettes or drank alcohol, Lucy makes fun of him. As they converse, David reveals that going to the Arasaka Academy was his mother's dream. Although he knew on the first day of school that Arasaka was not for him, he continued to attend only for his mother. She really worked hard to pay his school fees. Hearing all this, Lucy advises him to pursue his own dreams from now onwards. As Lucy gets comfortable with David, she reveals her dream to him. She wants to migrate to the moon one day to get away from Night City. Also, she shows him a virtual reconstruction of the moon's surface, which they both enjoy a lot. While sitting over a crater on the moon's surface, Lucy mentions that David is the first person to whom she has confided about her dream and the virtual world that she created. Just as it seems the two are bonding well, there's a twist in the story. Taking David to the moon's surface in a virtual reality simulation was all a ploy so that Lucy could summon a gang of cyberpunks to steal David's Sandevistan. The leader of the gang, Maine, asks David where he got the Sandevistan from. Maine asserts that he is the owner of the Sandevistan David has implanted in his body because he purchased it from Gloria. Also, he mentions that he is an acquaintance of Gloria. He reveals paying for the implant in advance. But when Gloria didn't deliver it on time, he started looking for her. David tells that Gloria is his mother and that she died just a day ago after a car accident. With this information, Maine realizes that Gloria's death prevented her from bringing him the Sandevistan. However, instead of giving the Sandevistan to Maine, David offers to work for him and demonstrates how compatible he is with the implant. Later, David returns home because he no longer trusts Lucy and is disappointed that she lied to him. The next day, David meets with Maine's gang, whose members are Kiwi, Dorio, and Pilar. Maine tells David that they are going to steal the navigation data from Maxim, who is Arasaka's driver. The plan is to send Maxim to a bar after making him lose a bet on a boxing match. Following that, when Maxim drinks and he passes out at the bar, David will steal his navigation data stored on a chip in his neck. Then, he will give it to Dorio so that she can copy it. After copying the navigation, David will put the chip back in Maxim's neck. However, the plan fails when Maxim gets a call from the principal and tries to leave before David can retrieve the navigational data. While Pilar's sister, Rebecca, distracts Maxim inside the bar, David and Lucy break into Maxim's limo to copy the navigation data. When Maxim gets to his limo, he is furious to see David and Lucy sitting inside. Lucy copies the navigation data, but David has to drive the limo away to escape from Maxim. While driving, David and Lucy discover that Maxim has sent 2 Japanese gangsters to kill them. One of them is killed chasing the limo, while the other is killed by Maine, who arrives at the last moment and saves David. Since Maine is impressed by David's performance on his first day of work despite being a rookie, he officially makes him a member of his gang. Later that evening, Maine gives David his share for getting the job done. The boy is pleasantly surprised by the amount of money he received. Thus, Maine tells him that whoever works with him gets an equal share. While the gang is celebrating their victory, Faraday, Maine's fixer, arrives. The task of stealing Maxim's navigation data was delegated to them by Faraday. Here, we learn that Faraday wanted Maxim's navigation data to obtain information on Tanaka's movements. However, Faraday believes that Tanaka must have relocated after David operated the limo and created havoc in the city. Faraday is the one who usually brings work for Maine and his gang, and in return, he offers them money. When Maine asks the reason for the data navigation, Faraday reminds him that he is supposed to complete the job instead of asking about the motive behind it. Later, Rebecca, a member of Maine's gang, introduces herself to David for the first time. After a while, David receives a call from the principal of the Arasaka Academy, who offers him financial aid and asks him to return to the school. However, David bluntly turns down the offer and hangs up on him. In the following scene, as a new recruit, David receives training and instructions from his other gang members. Next, David picks up a package that is a pair of golden, bulletproof cybernetic hands and delivers it to Pilar's house. There, he discovers that Rebecca is Pilar's younger sister. Before he leaves, Rebecca tips him well for the delivery. As a part of the training, Rebecca, who is a professional target shooter, teaches David to shoot using target practice. However, he can't shoot because he remembers his mother's death. While Maine teaches David how to drive a car, Lucy makes him jog every night with her to increase his stamina. In addition to taking lessons and training, David continues to participate with the gang in several jobs. He helps his gang take down a gang of scavengers and rescues Rebecca from another gang. Also, he helps Lucy with her pickpocketing. In the following scene, David and Maine sit and talk. Meanwhile, Maine gives David a gun and tells him to keep it with him for backup because he can't always rely on the Sendivistan. One day, when everyone is returning home from a bar, Pilar sees a homeless man peeing on the street and starts harassing him. When Pilar notices that the homeless man has cybernetic genitals, she starts making fun of him. Unfortunately, it turns out that the homeless man has cyberpsychosis and suddenly kills Pilar with a concealed gun. Enraged, Pilar's sister Rebecca starts shooting the cyberpsycho, but Maine tries to stop her. When the cyberpsycho targets Lucy, David uses the Sendivistan and knocks him down. While David asks Lucy if she's okay, the cyberpsycho stands up and points his gun at David. Just then, Maine steps in and decapitates the cyberpsycho, and Rebecca shoots his head. While Maine and Kiwi stay behind and deal with the mess created by the cyberpsycho, David takes Lucy to dock as she is bleeding after the attack. Later that night, David drives Lucy to her home, where they talk. When Lucy tells him that she never lied to him about her dream of going to the moon, David believes her. Therefore, he promises Lucy to take her to the moon one day. At the end of the episode, Lucy and David kiss. When she asks him to promise that he will not die for her, he agrees.